Well, what is your impossible dream? It ain't possible. That's his. I am possible. That's the other. Thank you, John. That's the other definition. It's spelled the same. I am possible. So the impossible dream. What is yours? What is your dream? What is your life's purpose? Why are we here? It's these big questions that we just forget to ask because we're so caught up in surviving. We're so caught up in attempting to make sense of the world. We forget that we are the ones that come to give it sense, to give it meaning, to give it a sense of harmony, a sense of oneness by our acceptance of who we are. So today we're going to talk about my impossible dream, and that's seeing heaven on earth. I mean, it includes all of it. It does include healing the climate or ending climate disaster. It does include ending wars. It does include ending famine. It does include stopping racism and hatred all around the world. But it has to start right here with me in the ways that I can change my thinking from a thought system of separation to a thought system of demonstration of our oneness. This is important. This is so important to me because I truly believe that every single problem of humanity starts with our mistaken idea that we are separate from one another and that we are different and that we feel different things or we have different priorities or some people are better than others or less than others or however that manifests. It starts with the idea of separation. Separation from each other and separation from the divine source from which we were all created. You can call it God or you can call it light or divine mind or eternal love or call it nothing at all. But if you demonstrate that oneness in love, then you are demonstrating the divine, God on earth. God in humankind, human being, individual consciousness. That's what the Christ is divine consciousness, God in you. And so you're demonstrating the Christ. And that's exactly what we're celebrating on Palm Sunday. It's the triumph or the victory over separation. In the book of Revelations, John speaks of his dream, his impossible dream, a vision of a new world, a new Jerusalem. He speaks of a new heaven and a new earth. And a place where there's no more pain and no more death. It's a state of consciousness known in the Hindu faith as samadhi. It's the highest spiritual state one can achieve while still on earth, still in the body. It's the realization of the divine reality that we share, the divine reality of the whole universe. And we experience it right here and right now. And when we experience it in ourselves, that vibration connects with the vibration of others, that place that is the divine within them, and it begins to resonate, and it begins to coalesce and combine. And so our energies combine and bring about a new sphere, as Teilhard de Chardin would call it, a new sphere of energy, a new sphere of demonstration of the light. Samadhi is the ultimate expression or experience of that divine energy within us and all around us. Because once you experience it, it's not just for yourself. You experience the connection that you have to every other living being. It's amazing. Because nothing can come within that sphere of energy that's not light and love. Anything that comes near that energy that's not demonstrating light and love will be transformed, will be converted back to light. That's why some of us are going through some stuff. Because we've been holding on to ways of thinking and being that do not serve our highest good. And the whole Lenten season is about consciously and intentionally letting go of those habits of being that do not serve us and coming into our Christ nature. Let it go. It doesn't matter what it takes. Just step into your greatness. Let your light shine. It's a short, what is it? It's a joy ride. It's a short step down a long road, something like that. We sing a song here called Let Your Light Shine. And that's the basic message of that song is get out of the way and let your light shine. So during Lent, we get out of the way. We get our egos out of the way. And so this state, this attaining of a new Jerusalem or samadhi experience, it could be considered the greatest purpose of humankind. The greatest goal of a human being is to attain this state and share it with others. John saw this in his vision, and he described it the best that he knew how, given his state of consciousness at the time. And I'm going to I don't do this often, but I'm going to read it from my old King James Bible. Yeah. I'm going to need some help, though. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And those of us who live on Cape Cod don't like that. He's talking about the sea of illusion. You can't take this literally. In Unity, we teach everything metaphysically or symbolically. The sea is the sea of illusion. It's the so-called reality that you live by, the reality, so-called, of separation. There was no more, excuse me. What he's saying here is there was no more separation. When he says there's no more sea, that's what he's talking about. The sea of illusion, the illusion of separation. And then he says, I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven. Wow. Prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. Now, many of you might think that's a sexist statement, but during my wedding, there was no more beautiful sight in the whole universe than Lily walking down the aisle in her beautiful wedding dress. I'm serious. I've never seen anything more beautiful before then or since then. And I probably never will. That's why John says that kind of experience is what you will experience. Heaven on earth, the New Jerusalem, a bride adorned for her husband. It will look that beautiful. That will be the vision you will have of everything. Everything in the world is going to give you that feeling. You know, in that moment, as everything in me just completely broke down, and I was a sobbing mess, crying my eyes out, thinking, this is my reality. I'm marrying this beautiful woman, this amazing being, and the light. I mean, it was some great moment because she came around the outside of the building, and she came in where the sun was shining behind her, and there was a silhouette. You can see the photos on Facebook probably. And I thought, that photo's got to go in the wedding magazines. It was amazing. We had a professional photographer, and in that moment, it was as if an angel from heaven was coming to greet me. And that was going to be the rest of my life, living in that type of energy. Now, you often forget that the next time you have to take out the trash and clean the house, and you have an argument about how to spend the money or whatever it might be. You forget that moment. And that's what we all do. We've forgotten the beauty of life because we're so caught up in survival. We're so caught up in our limited ideas, we forget what's all around us. That beauty of heaven. And that every single person in our life, everyone here, everyone around you is an angel, come to bless your life, come to give you a gift. We've made everyone separate from us and therefore our enemies, instead of somebody who's come from heaven to give us a gift. Can we look at everyone that way? Yeah, thank you. We can. It's possible. It's a possibility. But we have to decide that that's what we want. So when you have a moment like that, you don't forget it. And that moment can be a moment that you can remember each day when you're making this decision to see everyone in that light. You can see a new heaven and a new earth each and every day. It's up to you. And then he says, and I heard a great voice at that moment that said, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, or humankind. And he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. Neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things have passed away. Amazing. Many of you say, well, I don't know, that's nice sentiment, but certainly pain and death is the reality of a human being. It's only why? It's what you choose. It's how you're seeing it. It's a perspective. I can tell you right now, regarding death, is every single celebration of life that I have performed, and I've performed far too many in the last few years. In that moment, every single person there will realize, accept, and acknowledge that death is simply a transition into spirit. That we were spirit before we were born, we're spirit after we pass from this earth, and spirit we shall be forevermore. Every single person will acknowledge that life is eternal in that moment. Because in that moment, they really don't have a choice. They're going to choose, they're gone forever and I'll never, ever experience them again. That energy, that love, the vibration that they brought me. Or they are with me right now. They are with me forever. Oh my goodness. Every time I think about them, bam, there they are again. My mom says to me all the time, I'm right here, dear. Every time I'm missing her and I want her back in her body, she says, I don't want that old body. I'm right here, dear. You can talk to me anytime you want. You don't even need a telephone now. Behold, the tabernacle of God is with humankind. The tabernacle in that time, in their culture, was the tent of the congregation. So they would make a tent and gather there for their spiritual experience, for their religious worship or their religious gatherings. The tent of the congregation. So it was not meant to be a permanent place. Wherever you are in life, wherever you go during your day, during your week, you set up your tent. You create that energy field around you, which is the tabernacle or the dwelling place of the divine. We set up this tabernacle here on Sundays, and that's wonderful. But it's not going to mean a whole lot unless you take it out and set up your tabernacle during the week. Wherever you go, wherever you live, wherever you work, whoever you speak to, wherever you gather, let that be the tabernacle of the divine. I love it. So the revelation of John is so much like the vision of Unity Worldwide Ministries. A world powerfully transformed by the growing movement of our shared spiritual awakening. Wow. It's exactly what he saw. A new heaven and a new earth. A world powerfully transformed. So we're talking a lot about the New Jerusalem, but when Jesus entered the gates of the physical Jerusalem here on earth, there was also a ceremony that people were performing spontaneously, laying palm branches before him. Not only in reverence, but celebration of his victory and triumph over what? Over death, thank you. Over the world of separation and death. This is way before the resurrection. You have to be in that place in your mind where death doesn't count, where death doesn't matter, where death is not your reality, but eternal life is your reality. Then resurrection is assured. Resurrection is automatic. That's why he was so confident, no matter what he went through, that his reality was divine. His reality was spiritual. And that he was spiritual, a spiritual being having a human experience. Now, along the way, his human experience got pretty ugly. And so does ours sometimes. It's pretty ugly right now if you live in Gaza, or if you're in Ukraine, or if you're living in the United States and you're on the marginal end of the spectrum. And you don't have enough to eat and you're living in the streets. Lily and I went to Boston last week. We went to a concert, really great rock concert, Juanes. And it was wonderful. But while we were walking around looking for the theater, we ran into a lot of people who were living on the streets. Its temperature was in the 30s, and they were sleeping out on the sidewalks. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this different than the crucifixion that Jesus went through? How is it different to live in a city that's being reduced to rubble? Actually, that's where he was brought up. If Jesus or Yeshua lived today, he'd be among the rubble in the Middle East. And so it's very important for me to stay in the truth of who I am while I'm approaching these questions of humanity. Otherwise, it's too much. I just get overwhelmed. And I go, wow, there's nothing I can do. But there's so much you can do. And the most important thing you can do is resurrect within your own mind. And that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Yeah. And the next day and the next day. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. But right now, let's look at what this represents, this moment of entry into New Jerusalem, opening the gates to New Jerusalem. Because metaphysically, palm trees represent realizations in the physical of an unlimited resource of strength. So when all this is going on, or whatever's going on in your life, you tap into that unlimited resource of strength. You know, many people here have victory over cancer, and I'm very, very grateful to have them in my life as amazing representations of the unlimited resource of strength physically realized. And so whatever you're going through, you can realize the unlimited source of strength. And although these are realizations in the physical, it is of a spiritual resource. It's a spiritual strength. It's an acknowledgement of God, universal mind, eternal divine love. That's the source, not the human ego. God or divine mind, not the ego, is the source of our strength. Many people think unity, we always profess our individual divine nature, the Christ within us. And many people think that we're glorifying the ego or the individual. It's not the case. What we're doing as individuals is focusing our intention and our awareness on the divine and allowing that to be manifest where we once were representing an ego. That's powerful. And that's the Christ. That's the Christ that I'm always talking about. It's the individual human consciousness manifesting the divine reality. And that's Samadhi, my friends. That's the New Jerusalem. And that's where we want to stay all the time. It has to be realized here in the physical in order for us to evolve past our sense of separation into this very real experience of eternal oneness. This realization is what people were acknowledging when they welcomed Jesus into the gates of Jerusalem by their use of the palm branches. Just a little tiny history of the palm branches. It originated in Mesopotamia, in the ancient Egyptian culture. The palm branch, the palm frond, is a symbol of victory, of triumph, of peace and eternal life. Now, why is that so? Because the palm tree represents a connection between heaven and earth. That's why they use palm branches. The only reason I went to church as a kid on Palm Sunday was I could bring a palm home with me. And me and my brothers would walk through the streets waving our palms. Look what I got. It was so cool. I loved the palm. I would hang it on my wall. I didn't know what they represented. I just knew it was kind of fun. But they represented the connection between heaven and earth. The roots of the tree are in earth, and the palm spreading out is touching heaven. So for me, the idea of New Jerusalem is heaven on earth. The realization of heaven on earth, actually, authentically realized in my individual form and in my community. So the former things have passed away. The former way of seeing has passed away. The former way of processing information has passed away. And I have a whole new mind now. And that whole new mind is one who has all their gates open. Your gates have to be open and clear. All your chakras have to be rotating and vibrating in the same frequency and in the same direction. If they're going in different directions, you're not going anywhere. I often will scan somebody and scan their chakras, and you see them going in separate directions. And when that's happening, you're stuck. You're like, I'm not going anywhere. Why does my life always look the same? I have the same awful relationships, only with different people. You all laugh at that one. Why? Because we've all done it. We've all done it. It's going over the same thing over and over again. It's insanity. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and trying to get a different result. So the only way to get a different result is going to be through the real, authentic experience of your own resurrection. Rising up from however separation is manifesting in your life now and resurrecting to that new being. You don't know how it's going to manifest or how it's going to be demonstrated, but you know that it will. And so stay in that moment. This is a moment now of staying in that samadhi experience. Stay in your light. Remain in your light today. Remain in your light this week. Remain in that experience of New Jerusalem. Resurrection will be yours because resurrection is not an isolated incident. It's a constant regeneration and manifestation of the perfection of the Spirit in us, through us, and as us. It's constant. It's an evolution of your spirit. And it's being demonstrated each and every moment that you just accept that heaven is possible here and now. And just for today, be content with opening the gates to heaven, opening the gates to your higher consciousness. And together we will build a beautiful city of love and light and awareness and oneness and resurrection for all. I love you guys. Happy Palm Sunday.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityonCapeCod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.